Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here, got another Master Duel video for you, coming at you with some more Spright action. Recently had a video with them on the Duelist Cup, but I couldn't stop myself. Of course, this is my favorite deck of all time, so I decided to bring it to Rank Ladder even after the Duelist Cup was done here. Beginning with a going first game where we are up against Gem Knight Tearlaments. I'm going to begin with Normal Summon Nimble Beaver, which should be full combo, but unfortunately this Ash Blossom is going to stop me dead in my tracks here. Thankfully we have 4 hand traps here to work with. They're going to lead with Tearlaments Rhino Heart sending off the Havness. I'm going to use the Impulse on the Havness here and see if they have follow-up for that. There was definitely an argument though to using Maxi instead, but thankfully it looks like they're going to fire off the Tearlaments Grief here. So not only can I chain Retaliating Sea, but after they use their own Maxi, I can use mine as well. Because remember, Retaliating Sea doesn't negate or stop the summon off the spell card, it just says that cards are going to get banished instead. So I'll still get the draw for the Havness being summoned here. They're going to move to battle phase, use Rhino Heart to beat over the Nimble Beaver, and then set one before passing back over to me. So what I was about to say there is that there was an argument for you to Maxi chain to Havness instead of Impulse because I don't really have plays in my hand, right? So I need to find more plays, and in that regards, drawing cards might be more important than stopping their plays. But I was fairly confident they were going to have more follow-up. Tearlaments very, rarely has no engine beyond Normal Summon Rhino Heart Pass, but it was a bit of a risk that I ended up taking there. So yeah, now we have the Spright starter and the Swap Frog as well. Really, we could have drawn any level 2 monster. It could have even been like a Maxi or like a Nimble Angler. It didn't have to be a starter in and of itself. And that would have been enough for us to go into full combo there. But this is something that I alluded to in my previous video playing Spright. Why I kind of like Retaliating Sea better than something like Ghost Spell as tech against Dracotail if you're playing Spright. Because having that monster on board in addition to your level 2 monster is all you need to be able to go full combo. So I thought that was a pretty good example of us not only demonstrating how good Retaliating Sea can be in this meta, even when not playing its Dracotail, but also why it is uniquely good for Spright. So let's go ahead and take a look at our next duel here. Okay, let's take a look at this going second game against Orcust. Yeah, Orcust is losing out on a lot of popularity lately, mostly I think because of how, not great it did during the Duelist Cup. It's also, of course, why Anamat Ryziel suddenly got a lot more popular, is because people are like, oh, this deck is playable? Sure, I'll use it. I mean, I think people knew it was playable, it's just, I mean, you know how it can tend to be, right? A lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Players will kind of have this mentality that the only decks that are viable are, the top 3, and even if Anamat Ryziel was always one of the top 3 decks, it wasn't always perceived as that. That's why it's important to, ooh, here's a game where we're getting hit with Retaliating Sea. I am going to use the Spright Red here. Because, honestly, mostly because I didn't want to deal with the Maxi. Having all my stuff banished really doesn't matter that much to Spright. Not nearly as much as it does to other decks, but if the Retaliating Sea hits the board, then I'm going to have to answer it, and if I have to answer it, then they get a Maxi, and I really didn't want to deal with it. Plus, Spright Starter is the little one card I have that will actually trigger the Retaliating Sea. Well, no, the opening will too. But as long as I don't use any of those, I don't have to worry about Retaliating Sea for the rest of the game. Alright, so we have the Carrot online. Gonna summon the Gigantic here. Basically, at this point, I'm going to try to OTK them, because they just have one face-down card plus one, other card in hand that's probably not a hand trap at this point. So we're going to summon the Swap Frog off the Gigantic. I'm going to link Ronin plus a Nimble Beaver into the Elf. Now we're going to use Elf Effect in order to revive the Spright Red. And at this point, I'm just going to overlay them for a second Gigantic Spright. And this is basically how I OTK in open board states. I know some people might be like, but Hex, what if you end up needing the second Gigantic? What then? And it's like, well, okay, if I'm making the second Gigantic to OTK, then I'm not going to be in a situation where I need the second Gigantic, right? That's why I'm making it here. Yeah, there are a lot of, not just with Spright, but sometimes there are game states where in order to OTK, you have to make an unoptimal board state. And that looks really scary because, you know, if you play a lot of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, you're kind of trained to think about the board state and to always keep it in your favor, or not even just in your favor, but optimize on your favor, right? So to make the second Gigantic feels really weird and wrong, but it really just comes down to whether or not you know you can end the duel. Again, here, they have two cards I don't know about, one face down, one in hand, but like, decks don't really play Mirror Force. Like, you might run into Mirror Force against Stun every now and then, but I was pretty confident this wasn't Stun. And it's like, I don't know, if they have it, they have it. Plus, I had Carrot, so I don't really care about the face down card at all anyway. So yeah, it's totally fine in a scenario like this to, again, go for the unoptimal state if it means just outright ending the duel. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the next game here. All right, this game is going to be a little bit more back and forth. This is a going first game where I'm up against Sky Striker Tenpai, but I believe I won the coin flip here, so I didn't necessarily know that I was going up against a going second deck. To be fair, I don't think it would have changed what I did, really, but it's always nice to have that knowledge, right? So I'm going to lead with normal summon Swap Frog, dump the Ronin, special Carrot, use starter, special Blue, Blue F for Jet. Now I can special Jet, Jet F, add another starter, and I'm going to make a Jin Buster here before I keep comboing. This is something that I've mentioned in other Spright videos, why I think this card should be played in pretty much every single Spright deck. And a card that I underestimated for a long time, number 65 Jin Buster is an excellent rank 2 for Spright for this exact kind of scenario. If you open a hand that's got multiple starters, it's not hard to make the Jin Buster before you hit 5 summons. And now you can go into Sprint, which I'm about to do here, and do all your other combos without having to worry about Nib or other hand traps for that matter either. Mid-combo Jin Buster is very, very, very good. I highly recommend playing this in just about every Spright extra deck. There are some where you might not have as much room for certain variants, but for pure, even if you're not playing Dark Beckoning Beast, I think you should definitely be on Jin Buster. So I'm going to use Gigantic to get out another Swap Frog here. Even though I already had one in the graveyard, something that I could have done, I think I might actually do in another game that we see here, is I could have used Gigantic to special Max C from deck, and then I could have used L for Revive Swap to bounce and then have a Max C in my hand, but this might sound really weird. I actually don't think that's worth doing a lot of the time. It's like you might be thinking, well, searching Max C, how is that not worth it? But the truth of the matter is you have to spend a lot of resources, or it's not even so much you have to spend resources, but you're going to miss out on extra bodies, right? By going into the Max C search there. Like in this game state, for example, I wouldn't have been able to use Elf to revive Carrot. So here I decided to value the spell Trap Negate a little more highly than searching the Max C. Mostly because it paired really well with my Jin Buster here. But now because of the extra Ronin, or because of the extra body here, I can also make the Little Knight, and I have room to even go starter into Spright Red. I'm not going to do that during the draw phase though. I don't want to get too locked because I still want to be able to use IP to go into the Underworld Goddess. And this is my target for, you know, the IP if I make SP on turn 1 as well. Alright, so here they're going to use the Thrust, but you'll notice I didn't try to negate it with Carrot. That's because my opponent actually misplayed, and they kind of played themselves a little bit here. Or no, sorry, I used the Droll. I thought they did for some reason. So they go Upstart Goblin. I'm obviously going to chain the Droll and Lockbird. That's a great Droll and Lockbird target. They're going to throw out the Thrust, but again, I'm not going to chain Carrot because I don't care about this Thrust, because Thrust either adds the card or sets it face down. If they set the card face down, it cannot be activated this turn. So even if they can't add the Raigeki, they can still set it, but they can't flip up this Raigeki this turn. So Droll makes the Thrust useless here. Instead, I'm going to use the Carrot on this Widow Anchor that's trying to hit the Jin Buster. Because I figured at this point there was a decent chance it was Tenpai, and sure enough, as we can see now, it is. Activating the chicken game was also definitely a misplay for them. Granted, I had Jin Buster no matter what, but By activating Chicken Game, which they can't use anyway, now I can go SP Banish Shundra, and they're definitely not going to be able to, you know, make any plays during their turn. Now here I'm going to make the Underworld Goddess by linking away their Shundra along with other stuff on my board. It'll also clear up some space on my board to be able to make more plays here. I can use Elf Revive Carrot, and then I'm going to summon Jet, add a starter. Moving to battle phase here. But I totally forgot about the, which effect was this? A Chicken Game? Yeah, the player with the lowest life points takes no damage. Total misplay on my part. I was supposed to pay 1,000 to destroy it first, but I totally blanked on that. So, we're gonna have to live through another of our opponent's turns because I misplayed there. But it's not the end of the world, because not only do I still have everything else on my board, but as you can see, I haven't 2-locked myself this turn, meaning I can go into a 4-material Zeus to add to my board as well. This is, by the way, the first time I've made Zeus and Spright in, like, 6 months. The card is very much not needed. Totally forgot about the Raigekido's face down, so gonna have to SP Little Knight to try to dodge that, and really hope my opponent doesn't have a way to OTK me here. Yeah, because I misplayed on that Chicken Game so bad on my part. I just admit, it's been forever since I've faced against that card. Now, of course, Raigeki doesn't target, so Underworld Goddess will survive it, but it will not survive the Ultimate Slayer, which will put it back in the extra deck. Oh, also IP Masquerena is another reason why Underworld Goddess survived that. Now, I do have the Impulse. I'm going to have to hope that's enough to stop them from being able to OTK me. But it looks like they're kind of spinning their wheels more than anything else at this point. They're going to go for the Engage to add Hornet Drones and then draw. I'm actually going to use Impulse on the Hornet Drones, mostly because their Shundra's already in the graveyard. So there's like a very limited number of ways they could even potentially try to OTK me here, right? But I'm trying to think, if Shundra's in the graveyard, do they have any way of OTKing? They might not. Well, anyway, they're going to use Shark Cannon to basically go into Typhone here. Battle phase, Typhone's going to smack me for 2,900, but we have the starter, that Jet Search, so I know I have follow-up. Plus Little Knight and Elf come back during the end phase. Finding Opening gives me more than enough bodies here. We could very easily go for a Shadow Mosquito OTK at this point. In that regard, I should have used Elf to revive something other than IP. Looks like they're going to use Droplet, sending away their last card, which is a Lightning Storm, to negate my Dark Beckoning Beast here. Which obviously is completely fine with me. I don't even need to go for a Shadow Mosquito fancy OTK here. I can just go IP plus Beckoning Beast into Gigantic, and I think that's what I end up doing, actually. Yeah, yep. Although, again, Shadow Mosquito would have worked, because I used Impulse while it was face down, not while it was in my hand. So, I can still use the effects of Light, Earth, and Wind monsters this duel. But again, we just have enough damage on board to win as well. So yeah, a little bit more harrowing the game needed to be due to my own misplay, but we still managed to come out on top. Let's go and take a look at one last game before we finish off here. Okay, our final game is going to be up against White Forest. We're going first, and this might be the game where I did actually use Gigantic to search Maxi. I know I had at least one duel in this play session where I did it. Look at this hand here. We're actually in a really good spot. It might not seem like it, but what I can do here is normal summon Ronin, special blue. They're going to go for Droll. Literally doesn't matter at all. This deck is Droll proof. Literally blue and Jet are the only two cards within your deck that search. Well, there's also Beckoning Beast and Opening, but pretty much no matter when you get Drolled, you should be able to still full combo. Meaning this deck is essentially Droll and Lockbird proof. But opening the Angler in this hand might look kind of bad, but it's actually kind of fine too, because I can special the swap. Okay, so this isn't the game where I searched Max the, I summoned the Swap Frog off of the Gigantic, but I can bounce swap, send the Angler that's in my hand to special it, and then I even get another body with that third Nimble Beaver. So opening Angler, if you have access to Swap Frog, is actually completely fine. because Angler doesn't care how it gets discarded. It just needs to be sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard. Opening of the Spirit Gates, if you have that plus Angler, you can use Opening to discard Angler, and that will also cause Angler to trigger and summon the Nimble Beavers from deck. Alright, so here, this is another game state where we can end on both IP and SP going into our opponent's turn, because we have access to just some extra bodies here. Setting the Impulse after summoning the Ronin before passing. It's always good to summon the Ronin, even if it looks useless. It's a body that you can use with IP and or red/carrot, so it's always going to have like some amount of use case, right? Alright, here I'm going to go for the IP Masquerena. Sending away their Diabellstar, so that way they have to tribute a monster from hand in order to use Deception. Alright, now here's a little trick that you can do to dodge the call by. My opponent didn't let me actually show it off here, I think because they realized what I was about to do. But you never want to maxi during the draw or standby phase as Spright. You always want to wait for main phase, because if your opponent has call by, you can chain Elf, revive Maxi, and then call by won't have a target to banish, therefore Maxi will resolve. So in this scenario, here's how it would have played out. Elf would have chained, revive Maxi, call by would have fizzled, then IP would have resolved. I would have linked off my IP, my Ronin, and my Maxi, as well as their Diabellstar, to have Underworld Goddess. Now my board state is Elf up here, SP, Gigantic, Underworld Goddess here, and Impulse, while they have their Deception set, as well as one card left in hand. So they would have not at all been able to continue playing, which of course is why they conceded. And even if they could play, they would still be under Maxi. Anyway, that's going to do it for these games. Let me show you the deck list and we'll finish off here. Okay, so this is the deck list. It's the same one I used earlier for the Duelist Cup. I haven't changed any cards at all. We're still on the Retaliating Sea tech, and it's still just a very standard kind of pure Spright build. You really don't need to be doing that much fancy to win with Spright in this meta. Like, Spright is definitely getting power creeps, don't get me wrong, but it's still a very, very good deck. And I think that when it comes to the strongest and most consistent variant, I actually think it's pure. Some of the other variants can put out some fancier end boards, but they're more susceptible to hand traps like Droll, and they require you to play more, bricks in both the main and the extra deck. I just really like the clean, pure Spright list, and it's worked very well for me, even as we've been going into a stronger and stronger metagame. So, definitely love this list. Feel free to check it out for yourself, and thank you so very much for watching. Super appreciate you supporting and watching all the way to the end of the video. Let's go ahead and thank our YouTube members and patrons who are also very generous supporters for the channel. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.